Notion has just released AI agents, so it's time you got clued up. You have probably heard AI agents being discussed everywhere. They're being touted as a thing that is going to change everybody's lives or take away their jobs. What I'm finding, and I imagine you are finding as well, is a lot of explanations are really overcomplicating what AI agents are and making it inaccessible for everyone to really understand what agentic AI is and how it can be used or how it's actually going to affect them. I've also done cursory searches, and you might find this as well. People aren't really giving you enough information on how to actually use AI agents and what you can do with them. That's why I've made this video. For people like me, people like you, people who see the benefit of AI and want to use it to make their lives easier. And use it to help build their business or start something, but without having to know anything about code or going really deep into the actual intricacies of what AI agents are. I've spent the last 20 years building startups and the last 15 working in the tech space. I have distilled everything that you need to know about AI agents and broken it down into this video, which is going to take you from what you already know all the way to what you need to know and how to implement it, using examples that you actually understand and can relate to make it as easy and as accessible as possible. So AI can really be distilled down to 3 different ways of working. We have AI in its purest and most accessible form, the large language models. We have AI workflows, which are a build-on of these large language models in which you are giving more than just an input. And we have the new, shiny, everyone is talking about, AI agents. Let's use a recognizable workflow in which to show you these 3 versions of AI and how you use them, explaining entirely how AI agents work for you. So let's start with level 1, LLM, which stands for Large Language Model. These are your tools like ChatGPT, like Claude, where you input a question and you receive an output based on training data that the large language model has. Now, a lot of people still use this a little bit like Google, and if that is you, do not worry. LLMs are all around getting the prompts right, and I've created a free resource of all the prompts that you need to build a business right now. So grab it from the description in the video and start using them today. So with an LLM, you have an input. That input will then be processed with data to receive an output. For example, if I wanted to write product copy for a Notion template, I would input that, and the output would be product copy written faster than I can do it myself. LLMs have limitations because they only have access to the data that you give them or is widely available. They don't have access to any other information. So once I've got that output of the new product copy, if I then want to ask another question, such as, who bought this template last week? An LLM cannot help by itself. LLMs are passive. They simply respond to your prompts. So if I wanted to update my product copy based on what's selling, or I wanted to do an additional task, we would have to upgrade from this simple input-output model. And that is where we get to level 2 of AI, an AI workflow. Now, using this same example, I am trying to generate decent product copy to make sure that people are converting when they land on my page. I will ask my LLM, what was my most popular Notion template last week? And instead of going input to output, I will set up a workflow that goes input, tells my LLM to access my Squarespace sales data, pull that data in, and then give me an output. This is pretty good. This is the power of an AI workflow. You are giving it predetermined steps in which to create an output that is useful and personal to you and your information. However, if I then want to look further into these sales and I ask the LLM which YouTube video drove the most sales, it will fail because the workflow has only been set up to check the Squarespace sales and not the data from information pushing to those sales. This is the essence of an AI workflow. It follows predetermined steps that are human defined. It is control logic. Now, you can always expand this workflow. So you can add in a step that pulls in your YouTube analytics, or you can email your buyers. You can add in as many steps as you want to get that output within that workflow. But this remains an AI workflow and not an AI agent because the human remains the decision maker. So it means that AI workflows, whilst incredibly useful, are still limited. If you set up a workflow, it will only do that flow. So if you ask another question which is not part of the original ask, it will fail. So, as you can see, an AI workflow still requires a human decision maker, but it's still hugely valuable. So let me go through a flow which will show you a very good workflow that you can set up for yourself that actually saves me a ton of time. I use this flow in order to make sure that the product copy and the copy going out for my social is tailored to my marketing and tailored to things that I have seen work in the past. By just using an LLM like ChatGPT and an automated connector like Make, I can set this workflow up to run by itself from start to finish. When we look at a workflow, what we're asking an LLM to do is to reason and then act. So what we are doing is we are going to get an LLM to check my analytics. I can then ask a large language model to then draft my email and social copy. From that, I can then use an automation through Make to schedule this across my channels. Now, all this is already a really good way of making my life easier and utilizing AI. In this setup, I am still the decision maker. When the data is analyzed, it will create drafts that I will then go in and check and adapt and change the prompt if I need to, if I am not happy with the results. I will have a layer within there of approval before going on to the next automation in terms of scheduling. You can make these automations as long or as short as you like and have as many approval points. But in order to get to the point of putting it out, the human has to interact and make those iterations and make that choice of putting it through to schedule. If you simply set up this workflow with no checks and balances, you would have no control, no idea, no QC, and no iteration on the work that you were putting out. Now, this workflow is incredibly useful and saves a ton of time for those of us who don't have huge teams. So you can set this up right now with Make, with ChatGPT, and you can build yourself ongoing product copy, ongoing emails and socials that are drafting in the background. And all you need to do is go in and check and approve where necessary. Now, if you've made it this far, I'm going to imagine that you are pretty serious about making an effort to grow your sales or grow your channel or grow something for yourself. I've been building businesses for the last 20 years, and I know that the best way to build a business in this era is to set yourself up with proper systems and use tech and AI to do the hard work and the drudgery so you have more time for the human things that AI will never replace. Your in real life communications, your community, your experiences, and your story as a founder. I have loads of free resources on my site to help you get set up. But back to the level 3 of AI agents. And now this is that final level, AI agents. It is not scary. It is not anything that you need to know how to code for. All AI agents are is replacing the human interaction and iteration. When I am going through my workflow and I'm inputting my human layer, I am reasoning the best way to do things. The workflow is then acting and I am iterating on the outputs until I'm happy. It's that simple. Thinking about the best way to do something, acting on that, and then iterating until you get to the output that you desire. An AI agent is purely an AI workflow that has no input from you. An AI agent mimics what I am doing. It is still reasoning, acting, and iterating, but it is all based on an LLM instead of a human involvement. So an AI agent is simply this workflow of analyzing, drafting, scheduling, and then iterating until we're happy for it to go out, purely replacing the human decision maker. Instead of me checking and approving each step, the agent itself reasons, acts, and iterates until that job is done. So here is how that works with our example. The agent triggers the analytics step. It then generates the product copy, social copy, email copy, everything that we want. Another LLM then critiques the drafts based on best practices. It can then iterate until the drafts meet the standard. Once that iteration has been completed, the workflow progresses and you're post-scheduled. Everything happens from beginning to end with no input from a human. That is all an agent is. It is doing tasks on reasoning, acting, iterating, and outputting based on information that you give it. Instead of giving a single prompt for an output, you are giving an agent a goal. That agent then reasons, acts with the tools that you connect it to, and iterates until it hits that goal. So let's just do a quick summary so that you really understand the 3 levels of AI available now and what they each mean. The first level is our LLMs. Simple input to output. The next level is our workflows. And these are predetermined multi-step tasks. You design the logic and the AI follows. Then level 3, we have AI agents. These are autonomous, goal-based systems. They reason, act, and iterate until the job is done. AI agents are so exciting because they are not just task-based programs. They act like members of your team. They take away the repetitive, data-heavy, decision-based work so you can focus on moving your business forward. If you have found this helpful, I have a ton of free resources linked in the description. I'll be making more tutorials on AI agents specifically that you need to start or build your own business, because it is changing the way in which we approach business building and freeing up so much more time for those really human behaviors that AI will never replace. So like, subscribe, tell me what you want to build next.